Josh, we got Arn on the line. What do you want to ask him?
What do you think is that key to longevity in this business? And then what steps should aspiring syndicators and investors take to achieve that?
I would say keep learning, be humble, associate yourself with people who are doing it and doing it successfully. And I think you're doing all of that. I know many people in the space say, go big or go home. I'm 69, I'm old school. I believe in a foundational way to build growth, and I think that's what you're doing. Build a solid foundation so when interest rates go up, you have some experience and know what to deal with it. In terms of my overall career, I would say being authentic and being real and being honest with people is a key, because at the end of the day, if they're going to invest their hard-earned cash with you, they have to feel you're a person of character.
I'm Brian Briscoe, host of the Diary of an Apartment Investor podcast. And this podcast is different than everything else out there. I bring together a new and an experienced investor on each episode, and I let the aspiring investor ask the questions that they need answered. So if you're an aspiring investor yourself, you probably will have the exact same questions. Now, before we get to this episode, make sure you hit the subscribe button below and that little bell to make sure you get notified every time we post a new episode. And now, enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Diary of an Apartment Investor podcast. I'm your host, Brian Briscoe with Streamline Capital Group. Very excited for today's show. I got two amazing people on the line, two people that I've worked with, in this industry in the past. And very happy to welcome Arn Cenedella and Josh DeBlaay. So guys, welcome to the show today.
Brian, thanks for having us. Looking forward to a great chat.
Absolutely. So Arn, you know the tradition, you're an experienced guy today in the hot seat first. So let's talk a little bit. How you doing today, first of all?
Doing good. I'm here in Greenville, South Carolina. I think a town you're familiar with.
Very much so.
Enjoying life, enjoying being in the multifamily space, and hope to share some helpful, useful information with your listeners.
Awesome. And yeah, Greenville is a beautiful place. And if you're listening to this, I mean, he's got the Liberty Bridge in his background. It's downtown Greenville going over the Reedy River, it's just an amazing spot. I think they really did well with downtown Greenville. Whoever planned that out did an amazing job. Greenville is just beautiful. So anyway, that said, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born and raised in Santa Clara Valley, San Francisco Peninsula, in what is now more commonly referred to as Silicon Valley. So when I was a kid growing up in Los Altos Mountain View, Libby Canned Food Company was the biggest employer in Santa Clara County. And of course, now it's the center of technology in the world. Yeah. After I completed my education, had the good fortune to go to work for my father, who was a residential real estate broker in Menlo Park, Palo Alto, and sold residential real estate for 35 years, blessed to broker property in probably the best market in the world for residential properties. My father was a good investor. He invested in single family homes. And that's how I kind of started. I bought some back in the Bay Area at a time where the prices still made sense as rentals, and then started investing in single family homes across the country, many in Austin, Texas, where, of course, the market did very well. So I was happy to have got in there in the early 2000s and so forth. So, yeah. And then about 9 years ago, my life partner, Laura, and I made a big change and moved to Greenville, South Carolina, kind of continued the single family rental business, did some single family flips. And then when COVID hit, I had a conversation with a young investor friend of mine here in Greenville, and that started my path to multifamily about 2020. And I formed Spark Investment Group, and now I spend most of my time on multifamily acquisition and operation.
Nice. And my understanding is your acquisition and operations are focused in upstate South Carolina, correct?
Yes. So my kind of business model, well, let me back up. So I got into the real estate business 1978. My dad was kind of an old school fundamental guy. And so we all kind of know real estate rule 101 is location, location, location. And I believe intimate local market knowledge makes a big, big difference. It's kind of the key to investing in success. So I know the Greenville market. I live here. My primary operational partner is also in Greenville, South Carolina. So we pretty much stick our business to what we know, what's easily accessible for us. And for those who maybe don't know where Greenville's located, it's in the northwest part of the state, kind of between Charlotte and Atlanta. And the upstate's a 9-county region. Spartanburg's the other big city. And I know you started in Spartanburg. And so you have a warm place in your heart about Spartanburg.
Yeah, I mean, the entire upstate, I mean, Greenville, Spartanburg, that 85 corridor between, like you said, Charlotte and Atlanta is booming. You know, Charlotte and Atlanta get a lot of the press, but everything, all the factors that are present to make Charlotte and Atlanta great places, you know, also it's basically that whole I-85 corridor. So yeah, it's a great place. And I like what you said about intimate knowledge on a place. You know, part of its location, but you know, it's not just choosing the best city. It's you know, knowing stuff. That kind of led me to my pivot. You know, my wife is from South Carolina, as you know, which is why we started investing there, because we had, you know, well, first of all, we had plenty of places to sleep for free, but yeah, that led to my pivot to Salt Lake City, because it's another market that I know extremely well, you know, so being able to be boots on the ground every day really helps.
And as we know in everyone's community, you know, you can cross one major boulevard and the whole vibe and character of the neighborhood is different. The other thing I think you know is in your community, there are areas where you start to see houses being flipped, storefronts being improved. And so by being local, you can kind of get a jump on some areas that are up and coming. And the way I kind of describe it is you want to invest in areas before they become front page news. And if you can get in a little sooner due to your market knowledge, you do well investing, you do better for your investors. So I'm kind of a big proponent of that. And even within Greenville, there are neighborhood differences, there are locational differences. Certain areas are really booming, others maybe not so much, and it helps to be able to know that.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree with that one. And I mean, I like to know where a lot of the flips are happening. You know, if I'm driving through a neighborhood, and I think you're right. I mean, there's a certain amount of people who are going to be taking a risk starting the flips in a neighborhood. But once it gets the momentum going, you know, a lot of people start, you know, migrating to those areas. A lot of flippers jump in. And if you can catch it before that wave has really formed, I mean, that's a really good time to hit it. So if you're keeping track of, you know, where apartments are being renovated, where houses are being flipped, you know, and all of that stuff, where the money is flowing into and not out of. I mean, if you got that level, it's you know where to buy, and you know which C-class properties are going to be, you know, just fine, you know, long term, and you know which C-class properties to avoid.
Yeah, and oftentimes I find the younger people kind of lead into those neighborhoods, right? So if you can, you know, where are those recent college grads moving to? Where's the cool coffee shop? It gives you clue to where the money and investment is coming, and it kind of creates a snowball domino effect where an area will gain momentum, and if you can ride that, you'll do well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. 100% agree on that one. So, well, awesome. Talk to us about, you know, your business model, how you do things. And if you want to share one of the deals you've done in the past, you know, I'd appreciate that too.
Yeah. So great question. So I've only bought one existing asset in the past 12 months, and that was a small little 7-unit deal in basically North Main and Hampton Pinckney, which is downtown Greenville, where single family homes can go for $1 million. So really prime location.
Yeah.
Haven't had as much success buying existing assets. And so what we've actually done here in the last 6 to 9 months is go out, locate small local builders who are building duplex communities. And we're acquiring a set of 10 duplexes at completion. So we're not doing the ground up development. We're not taking on the construction risk. We buy these completed units when the CO, certificate of occupancy, is issued, and we have new products. So we just recently closed 12 units. We've got another builder breaking ground on 13. And when you kind of think about it, builders build to sell product. So they're motivated sellers. Whereas if you have an existing owner and his building is doing relatively well, odds are that owner probably has better debt on it than you can as a new buyer. And I know you're doing, I think, 1 or 2 assumption deals, which is a way to get around it. So I haven't found much headway buying existing assets, so we switched to new. But of course, as an operator, you have to adjust to market conditions. So what may work in 2023 may not be the game plan in 2024. We're excited to buy the new product. It's kind of a longer term hold. The plan would be we're getting local bridge debt, actually credit union debt from Greenville Federal, no prepay. We'll get the buildings leased up. Hopefully rates drop in about 2 years. Then we'll refinance into long-term agency debt. And so maybe it'll be about a 10-year hold. And I think in the current market, often a little longer term horizon for the hold makes sense.
Yeah, I do as well. Now, I love Greenville Federal, by the way. We've got a couple of loans with, we just sold a property, but I think I have 1 loan still on the books with Greenville Federal, but a great credit union to work with, and quite frankly, it was that credit union that kept us from getting bridge debt because they came in with fixed rate, very, very comparable rates. And that was a little diamond in the rough that we stumbled upon. So very, very great credit union to work with. But now, so along those lines, you pivoted to new stuff, but I mean, you're still essentially doing multifamily. It might be zoned as, single family or whatnot, but what are some of the benefits you guys have found from that pivot?
So, for example, in the Greenville market, your typical Class C 1970s build, you might pay $125 a door for an 800 square foot apartment. Right? Yeah. That's kind of the going price, give or take a little bit. So we're acquiring 1,200 square foot new builds for $180,000.
That's not bad, actually.
If you just look at it from a strict brick and mortar point of view, if you're paying $125 for a 50-year-old 800 square foot unit that you're going to have to put 20 in, you're going to have 145 into it. Yeah. So why not actually get new product that's bigger for not a heck of a lot of more money? Operational costs will be lower with these new builds. They're typically separately metered, so the tenants are paying all utilities. So that's kind of our thought process, just from kind of a brick and mortar's price per square foot point of view, lower operational costs. And then after a 5-10 year hold, we still have relatively new product to sell. And so we like the model now. Now, if the prices of existing assets drop, then certainly we're going to take a look at it. But I think as you're finding, hard to find existing assets that make sense at, say, 7% debt. It's just been very difficult. So we've kind of pivoted. And of course, the other thing is Greenville County is 500,000 people. The upstate is 1 million population. So it's a smaller market. And so if we want to stick in Greenville, we kind of got to pivot with market conditions, where if you're in Dallas, I don't know, what's that, 7-8 million people, you have more inventory and you can maybe ferret out another deal or two.
Yeah. And that is true. The smaller the markets, there's pros and cons to smaller markets. And I mean, it's interesting how the market's changed, because, 3-4 years ago, when I was much more active buying stuff in the upstate, I mean, we were looking at purchase prices for these, C and B minus properties in around 40,000. And the new build prices were, 6-figure per unit, and so a couple of years ago, it made complete sense to buy existing, put your $10,000-$15,000 in, and you were still 60 cents on the dollar what you could buy a new build for. But I mean, things have changed a little bit. The apartment prices have gone up a lot faster than the new builds. So when you're paying attention to what's going on, and here's the honest truth, C-class properties, this is one thing I've learned from, my investments in South Carolina. C-class properties come with C-class problems, and it has nothing to do with South Carolina. It was the C-class properties come with C-class problems. So if you can buy new, man.
Yeah, or maybe get up into that solid workforce middle income property. So in South Carolina, let's say in Greenville, a tenant who's paying $700 or $800 a month is in a much different financial situation than a tenant paying $1,300 a month in terms of job stability, future prospects for income growth. And so most of our assets rent for between $1,000 to $1,500 a month. So we try to keep out of the lower income space and kind of move up more into that middle income. And the median income in Greenville County is now $89,000, which is kind of mind blowing from what it was 5 years ago.
Oh, yes.
But it just reflects kind of the growth. And you and I are in a deal where we paid $42,000 a door, and we're going to be just fine. It's just the prices have jumped up. I think the other thing we've seen, and many people have talked about it, back in the old days, let's say 10 years ago, the spread in the cap rates between A, B, and C may have been 2 points. So C may have been 8%, B may have been 6%, A in downtown Charlotte may have been 4%. At the peak of the market, basically the cap rates for all these assets compressed, and there was very little spread. So comparatively, you would have been better in A. What we're now seeing is the spread between A and B and C are getting bigger. And as that spread widens, there'll be opportunity in C, but the price has to be right. There's a major operator in Dallas that I follow, and like most of us, he started in the Class C building. Last 3 or 4 years, he only does new Class A. He's now saying it's almost the time to jump back into C. So don't give up on C. It's all a matter of the numbers and what you can buy those for.
Yeah. When we started with the C class, that's where the numbers made sense. That's where you're talking about the cap rates. That's where you had the big spread. And, we had that cap rate compression. We had everything going. You could buy C class almost 50 cents on the dollar for A class. And your rents were like 75-80% of what you were getting. So there was a time where C class was the belle of the ball, but I will still say that, managing C class versus managing B class, it's like you said, there's a difference in the tenant that's paying $750 than the tenant that's paying $1,200. And, from one aspect, from many aspects, I'd rather have the tenant that's paying the $1,200. And so that kind of pushes me to shift into B class, but I have not sworn off C. We will still look at C classes. We just have a little bit tighter of a window for those C classes. But anyway, so quick transition here, and this is about your motivation, what I call big burning why. So Arn, what's What is your big burning why?
Yeah, great question. I'm almost 70, be 70 next year. I've done well in the real estate business. It's the only thing I've done during my adult life. Throughout my 45 years in real estate, I've always had great work-life balance. And so I think my why is I strongly believe in real estate. I believe it's a way to create financial freedom and financial security. And so my why is to help other people benefit from real estate investing. And I would say most people understand real estate investing is good and would be a benefit to them and their family, but they're either too busy with their W-2 to handle the real estate, or they have a lack of knowledge. And so there's a little bit of fear about doing it. So when you have busy professionals, they also typically have families, they're committed to church and community. There are people out there who would like to invest in real estate, but they're extremely busy and don't have the know-how to do it. So what we do in the syndication space is provide these real estate opportunities to, let's call it the common man and woman, where people with $25,000, $50,000 capital can invest in real estate, have it run by professionals. They can continue their W-2, and over a 5-year, 5 to 10 year period of regularly investing in real estate, I think individuals can get to a point where they then have the option to leave their W-2 if they want, or do something different. So basically, I want to help more people get the benefits of real estate that I've experienced in my life firsthand.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, it's like you taste it and get a taste of it. You're like, man, I really, really like this. And then you start thinking, man, everybody should have some of this. You know, that's where I'm at too. You know, I was excited, you know, waited till the last minute. I mean, today's the 17th of October for people listening, you know, later, but yesterday was the last day for taxes with the extension. And, you know, I have zero tax liability this year. You know, that's one of the benefits. You know, it's not because I didn't make money. I made money, but zero tax liability too. So that's something I like to shout from the mountaintops as well. Just so many good reasons for it.
Real estate is probably the most tax advantaged investment you can make. The way I explain it to people is you're going to pay tax on every dollar you make. But on real estate in general, you're going to pay less tax on the dollar you make than any other way you make money. And it's not rocket science. It's not cheating. It's just use of the tax code and depreciation. And so it all works like I would say, since I left the Bay Area and got out of my active brokerage business back in 2014, I've paid very little in either state or federal tax, and it's all due to the sheltering real estate investment provides.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. All right. Well, last question, and that's what's next for you?
So I'll just continue doing what I'm doing. I have a great partner here, Brian Walsh in Greenville, who handles the day-to-day. He was trained as a master plumber, has a property management company, has a renovation crew. And we've recently brought in a new partner who has more of that CFO accounting financial skill. And so the three of us are going to continue to look for deals in Greenville. And basically, we'll buy small deals, big deals. So we're just going to continue doing more of the same. Like to maybe improve my capital raising a bit, which would allow me to do more or bigger deals, but kind of steady as she goes. The other thing that's nice is we don't have a huge overhead. So it's not like we have to make deals. We do them selectively, and that will continue to be how we approach the business.
Bread and butter. Nice. Yeah. Nice. Awesome. We're going to switch gears and bring Josh on. So Josh, good having you on the show today.
Thank you, Brian. Glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about you for a second. Tell everybody about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Josh DeBlaay. I'm an operations management professional with 12 years of experience in tech consulting and large program execution. I currently live in Boston with my wife and two daughters. We've moved around quite a bit. So we're going to be moving again in the next few months. It'll be our fourth move in 7 years, but hopefully putting down some roots and excited for that. But with my background in operations management, continuous improvement is a vital tenet of that world. And it's a philosophy that I've embraced since college. It started when I lost 60 pounds my freshman year, and it's just been a recurring theme in my life ever since. I constantly pursue professional and personal opportunities that really push my boundaries of what I'm capable of or what I'm comfortable with. And that progression and mindset led me to investing in single family homes several years ago. I was, like most people, I was happy with the returns and happy with the progress that we were making, but I kept digging, and that's how I stumbled across multifamily investing. After reading a handful of books and then listening to about 100 podcasts, yours included, I decided to take that plunge and hire my first coach, and really have been all in ever since. I started raising capital this year as a co-GP, but I'm working towards taking down my own property as a GP as well.
Nice. I think that's a great way to start, exercising the capital raising muscle before you jump into your first deal. We did it the opposite way. We jumped into the first deal under contract with no capital raising experience, and it wasn't easy nor fun, but it was worth it. But I think you guys, I think it's a smart way of getting it done. And you're also partnered with your wife too, right? She's all in as well.
Absolutely. Nice. She keeps me honest, and really our backgrounds complement each other. So it's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, great. So moving now and, hopefully planting roots. I can tell you, I think we're planting roots for the first time in forever too. So hopefully we'll be planting roots as well. But yeah. So, we talk a lot about, getting into real estate and whatnot. And my favorite question is still why, what's your purpose? What's your big burning why?
Yeah, I really just want to create a life that I can live on my own terms. After a decade plus in corporate America, it was pushing me to be this one-dimensional person. You prioritize your work, then you fit your life, the rest of your life in around that. And for me, that's backwards. I want to be able to prioritize my family, my wife, my daughters, my faith, and then my health. And I know that this journey is a challenging one. So it's not as easy as just cutting out of work early to take my daughter to the park. But I love the flexibility of being able to take her to the park, not having to answer or explain myself to anyone else, and then being able to control when I make that time up. I'm an early morning riser. If I need to get it done at 5 a.m., I'll do it, but I don't need to explain myself.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the benefits. I take my kids to their, let's see, it's 2:00 in about an hour and a half, 2 hours. I'm going to hop in the car, drive my kids to, what day is it? Tuesday, the climbing gym today, right? So awesome. Being able to do that as a dad, it's crazy. I show up to those events when there's like all these other mothers around who are, doing that, but just having the ability to do that. And I drove my kids to school this morning, and I'm still doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. Just like you said, I don't have to answer to anybody else,
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what Arn said on your burning why about educating and sharing this with other people. That completely resonates with me. I know people that are 10 years older than me. I have, one friend who he's an executive at a company. His wife is a doctor. They've only ever invested in their 401k and maybe a couple stocks. They haven't been exposed to this. They don't have the time to think about this. And I think there's a lot of people that would benefit from the opportunity, but it just is not approachable. They don't have that time. So I really love that, Arn.
Awesome. Well, since you're making feedback on what Arn says, let's just open the floodgates. And, Josh, we got Arn on the line. What do you want to ask him?
Yeah. So, Arn, you mentioned that you've been in real estate, I think for over 40 years at this point, and have been syndicating for almost half a decade. That's really an impressive stretch. What do you think is that key to longevity in this business? And then what steps should aspiring syndicators and investors take to achieve that?
I would commend and applaud you for buying some of your own rental properties and getting a little bit of hands-on experience before moving to multifamily. And I know, Brian, if I understand your story, as you transition through your military career, you'd buy a house, you'd be transferred, you'd keep that house as a rental, you'd buy the new one. So I think
that's exactly what we did.
Josh, having some actual hands-on experience about rental real estate is, in my mind, invaluable. So I think that's a great way, provides a great foundation for you to transition into bigger assets, because you actually have some personal experience about getting the hot water heater fixed, renting a tenant, and this and that. So I think that's a really good first step. And then, of course, it's education. I think mentoring is good. And I'll mention this now. My first co-GP opportunity was with Brian Briscoe here. And I'll always appreciate that. And even though I'd been in real estate for 45 years, I knew I was still kind of the new kid on the block in multifamily. So I would say, keep learning, be humble, associate yourself with people who are doing it and doing it successfully. And I think you're doing all of that. I know many people in the space say, go big or go home. I'm 69, I'm old school. I believe in a foundational way to build growth. And I think that's what you're doing. Build a solid foundation so when interest rates go up, you have some experience and know what to deal with it. In terms of my overall career, I would say being authentic and being real and being honest with people is a key, because at the end of the day, if they're going to invest their hard-earned cash with you, they have to feel you're a person of character. And the way you do that is to speak honestly from a place of genuine care and character, not so much selling, because people don't like to be sold. I think they like to be presented opportunities, and every opportunity has a potential downside. And to the degree you can be honest with both the benefits and the risks, that will develop your personal credibility, and I think will help you on your next steps.
I think some of there was a lot of diamonds in there. One of them I caught was, be humble, be teachable, and be around other people who are doing what you're doing. I think that's key for just about anything, to be honest with you. But yeah, if you're humble, teachable, and you're around other people who are doing it, you're going to be on the fast track.
Yeah, that was great. And Arn, just kind of continue that line of thinking. I mentioned I'm raising capital. I've been raising capital for a couple of deals this year. For a few investors, I realized it was going to take some time before they invested. I really needed to nurture those relationships. They don't want to just be sold to. Even if I'm bought in, they might not be bought in. What's the most effective tool or approach that you've used to educate people and really bring them along on the journey?
Think about sharing your story, sharing your life experience, sharing your investing experience with them, because it's a soft sell approach. And so I think as you share your story and your experience, I know you're going to be moving to a very exciting market to invest in. And so maybe your first deal there is an 8-unit building. And so you talk about it to your potential investors. Hey, I just got in contract on this 8 units, or I just closed, or I'm re-renovating these units. Share your experience with them. And what I find is the people who are interested will raise their hand and say, tell me more. Does that make sense? So it's not kind of, you're giving them a pitch. Share what you're doing, share your excitement about what you're doing, and they'll say, tell me more. Hey, next time you find something, let me know, because I'd like. So I think as you do that, you'll gain credibility, and these people you're nurturing now will come along with you. And, let's face it, we work hard for our money. So it's a big thing for somebody to turn their hard-earned capital over to you. And so that has to be earned over time. And my sense of you and what you're doing, you're going to do great at this. I'd say just, be authentic and keep moving.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. We got time for one more quick question and answer. So Josh, if you've been holding on to a question, now's the time to let it rip.
Yeah. So I loved your comment too around intimately knowing a market and your knowledge. Like I said, I'm making the move to a smaller market, in the coming months. When you move to that market, kind of what's the first thing that you did to become really familiar and to develop that expertise and to get up to speed faster, besides just living in it? Any tips on how we can really become that master of that market?
Yeah, great question. So I think the first thing I would say is, and this applies to real estate, but it'll apply into your total life. I think you have to be intentional about what you're doing and look for opportunities to get connected to your community. So that may mean joining a fitness facility. And when you're on the treadmill, some guy, hey, what do you do? Well, I'm in real estate. Well, hey, I'm in real estate. Or joining in church. Faith is a big part of your life. So I think it starts with the people, and be intentional about building your network. Then I think the other part of it is just let people know what you're doing. You're interested in investing in real estate. If I can ever help, if you ever need my opinion, of course, reach out to the local brokers, property managers, lenders, and there'll probably be local investor groups. I would encourage that. And so network, let people know that you're interested, be intentional about becoming part of your new community. And it does take intention. So I was very intentional about it, but I think you do it in activities that you and your wife and your family enjoy. Again, it gets back to that authentic approach. Do things that will put you in front of other people and kind of ingrain you into the community. And it can happen quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, try to jump in. I joined a couple of clubs. I'm in the Rotary Club. I'm sponsoring the Idaho Falls Symphony. So, that puts me in some community organizations. I'm in a similar situation where we just moved here, not long ago, and quite frankly, I've been in that situation many times where we're showing up at a new place. Church, civic activities, youth sports. I coached a basketball team a couple of times. So yeah, whatever you can to get involved, I think is the best way to do it. And always float what you do to other people. Always tell other people what you do, and like I said, Arn said something similar to this fact. People are going to self-select. They're going to volunteer. And a lot of times when I'm talking with people, I'll hear something along the lines of, oh, you know what? I know somebody who's really interested in real estate investing. Maybe you guys should meet, and so, yeah, get as involved as you can, and local RIAs can help out as well. But lots of different organizations that can help you get your finger on the pulse of the community. But
and if I could add one other suggestion. Go see every multifamily property that comes on the market. Get to know the lay of the land, so you know those properties. Get out, put eyeballs on them, find out what they rent about. When I first got into the real estate business way back when, my dad said, you have to know every house on the market. And so I'd say it's similar with that. Really focus on getting to know those multifamily properties as they come on.
Yeah, that's definitely helpful. I've said multiple times that if you know your area well enough, you don't need any information besides the address to figure out what a property is worth. But if you can get down to that level, properties pop up, you can be a lot quicker than anybody else. So good advice.
Yeah. And what I say is, in my market, I don't need CoStar to tell me what the rents are. And I would submit one of the key abilities to find a good purchase is to understand what the market rents are of that unit. And if you understand the market rents better than the other buyer, you're going to have a better chance to win. So 100%, Brian.
Funny you mentioned that. When I was brand new, we used to always ask the brokers for the CoStar reports because there's a load of information on there. And it used to be something that, we could look at and just compare notes with. I had somebody recently ask me on we were trying to, arrange a partnership on a property that we're looking at. And they asked me for the CoStar report. And my first thought is, why would I need that? Things have changed a lot in the 5 years to where we used to, love getting our hands on that CoStar report. And now it's just like, you know what? I've seen CoStar reports enough to know that, there are limitations to them. And I think my information is more accurate, so yeah, it's kind of for me, it was nice to be able to look at that and say, why would I need a CoStar report? But yeah, anyway.
And we're not trashing CoStar. We're just saying firsthand eyeball market knowledge is superior to the data in CoStar. The data in CoStar is still useful, but it doesn't replace that kind of firsthand up close and personal experience.
It's not necessarily refined data, it's data, and it's accumulated. But anyway, all right. So we're out of time. So one last question for each of you to wrap things up. Arn, you get to go first. How can listeners learn more about you?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. So the name of my company is Spark Investment Group. Website is investwithspark.com. I'm active on social media, Facebook and LinkedIn. So reach out. Always happy to chat real estate.
Awesome. And Josh, same question for you. How can listeners learn more about you?
Yeah, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn or send me a note at josh@vitasend.com. I think you'll include that in the show notes, but always eager to connect with other syndicators that are early on in their journey.
Yep. And we will include links to all of that in the show notes. So thanks, guys, for coming on the show today. Great talking to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you,
Josh,
Brian.
good to meet you and good luck.
Thank you. Nice to meet you as well, Arn.
Hey, if you like that episode, make sure to subscribe. But more importantly, if you haven't joined our multifamily educational community yet, which we call a Tribe of Titans, you are missing out. Get 30 days free by clicking the link in the description to this episode, or go to thetribeoftitans.info, and we'll see you there.